around 2 p.m., as the Continentals scrambled to line up on Birmingham Hill, the British were finishing their tea and preparing for battle on Osborne Hill. The first to see action that afternoon were Captain Johann Ewald's advance guards, Hessian Jaegers, who marched down Birmingham Road and met Marshall's 3rd Virginia Regiment near Street Road at about 3:30. After this brief encounter, Ewald made visual contact with Sterling's men, who didn't shoot, but waved their hats. And then Ewald saw Sullivan coming up from Jones's Ford. Meanwhile, the rest of Cornwallis's division lined up for their assault on Birmingham Hill. On the British right, near present-day Radley Run Country Club, were His Majesty's Foot Guards, an elite force consisting mainly of British aristocrats seeking promotion and glory. To their left was another elite force, the Grenadiers, known for their intimidating height, exaggerated by tall bearskin caps. It was at this point that Sullivan found himself detached from the rest of the Continental line. His orders were to back up and link to the left of the Continental line. But instead of going directly south, Sullivan took his troops in a counterclockwise circle that ended up exposing his division to the oncoming British Guards. As the Grenadiers donned their bearskin caps, struck up the band, and marched directly at Stirling. By 5:30, the entire left of the Continental line had collapsed, leaving General Stephen isolated between the Birmingham Meeting House and Sandy Hollow. Stephen was facing the British left, made up of the light infantry and Hessian Jaegers. Both these units were highly mobile and skilled at adapting to difficult terrain. Both units had quickly crossed the valley, but soon found themselves pinned down on the north slope of Birmingham Hill, in the face of close-range artillery fire. While the 3rd Virginia Regiment held steady behind the wall at the meeting house. Eventually the Jaegers were able to swing far enough to the east that they outflanked Stephen, and the entire Continental line collapsed. In the final moments at Sandy Hollow, the Marquis de Lafayette famously attempted to rally the troops. Lafayette was a 19-year-old Frenchman who sympathized with the American cause. Benjamin Franklin helped him join Washington's army in the hopes that it might gain the French king's sympathy for the American cause. At Sandy Hollow, a ball passed through Lafayette's leg, forcing him to leave the field with the rest of the retreating army towards Dilworth Town. With 3 divisions busy with Cornwallis, the Continental line at Brandywine Creek had worn thin. General Wayne was braced for an assault. General Knyphausen started to prepare his troops. Upon hearing the battle commence on Birmingham Hill, Knyphausen ordered his men to assemble. Once across the creek, the Queen's Rangers started towards Proctor's artillery under heavy fire, as the rest of the division marched past Chad's Ford on the Great Nottingham Road. At about 5 p.m., while Sullivan's division was collapsing and Knyphausen was assembling his troops to cross the creek, General Washington and his officers moved from Chad's Ford to Birmingham, and General Greene was ordered to pull his entire division back to reinforce Sullivan's retreating men by positioning himself near Dilworth Town and the William Britton House. With the battle raging on both fronts and the situation quickly falling apart, Greene's Virginians marched double time. The plan was to find some high wooded ground along the Wilmington Road to cover the Continental Army's retreat to Chester. They managed to form in a semicircle that proved deadly to the unexpecting British. As the sun was setting, Count Casimir Pulaski charged into a field of British bayonets with about 30 of his horsemen. This helped to blunt the final British assault, while Continental soldiers continued to stagger off the battlefield to safety. And Greene's men held steady their defensive position until darkness fell on the battlefield.